as usual, playbooksports.com sponsors our pick segment. We go over the updated odds and break down the race each week. And this week, of course, the race at Texas, Circuit of Americas. And we have how many picks the same? How many do you think? Well, I'll tell you. Because you're going to have a hard enough time picking them usually. But not. I don't think so. I think it's going to be hard this week. Because there's not a whole lot of long shots. I'll just say that. You've got a lot of long shots. You have like 5 of them. I only have 1.
Oh, wow. You're more top heavy.
Yeah. So we have 5 drivers.
I was going to guess 5 or 6. Kyle Busch?
No.
Oh, Chastain?
Correct.
Reddick?
Yes.
Allmendinger?
Yes.
3. Bell?
Yes.
4. If you've only got 1 long shot, then I'm going to say Cindric.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. See, I didn't think it was going to be that difficult, and there it is. Yeah. Neither one of us went with Larson, and look, for me, it was either I had to take 2 out of the 4. I couldn't take 3 out of the 4 favorites, especially going with Larson at 6-1. That is what I was trying to figure out, because he should be an obvious good pick this week, but 6-1 was just, you know what? If I'm going to take 2 of the 4, I can't take the favorite with those odds. When I think Chastain and Reddick, the 2 drivers I took, are just as good. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I am concerned with Reddick, of course, is the change, the team. That is the one thing I am concerned with. But he's starting to race better. He's got the back-to-back top 5s. So maybe that sort of confidence will also come into play in the road course. And that's the reason why I still was steadfast with him instead of taking Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson.
I was the same way with Larson, because you just don't know what you're going to get out of him. I mean, even the season, he was close a couple weeks, but he also he was second in Vegas, should have won. Phoenix, he was 4th, but his other 3 results are 18th, 29th, and 31st. And you look at what Hendrick did last year on road courses, and they weren't his strong suit. Larson was 29th, 15th, 3rd, 35th. He won Watkins Glen, and then 35th again on the Roval. He just didn't look like himself. And this year he's been more down than up. So for 6-1, I thought was a little steep.
Yes.
To go in that, because you're getting better value, obviously, behind him, because everybody's behind him in the odds. There's so much better value to just, you know what, if he wins, more power to him. But I think these last few weeks have shown drivers that weren't supposed to win on these tracks are still winning.
Yeah.
And you look at Byron, never had a top 5 in Phoenix in 10 starts. He wins. Logano hasn't had a top 5 in Atlanta since 2014. He wins. So there's better value to be had if you just ride that wave instead of going with that favorite.
By the way, last year in this race, we all picked the winner, Ross Chastain. So we all had Chastain last year, and Ross Chastain last year was 25-1.
Yep.
To win this race. And we all had him. You know why he was 25-1? Because Chase Elliott was 2-1 and Kyle Larson was 3-1. And if you're going, well, how did that happen? Well, that's because it was the first road course race of the new car. And everybody was just thinking, it's just going to be like it always is on these road courses. Nothing's going to change. Well, a lot changed.
Oh, yeah.
And so now all of a sudden Larson is double the money as he was last year. So, and Reddick, by the way, was 30-1 last year.
Yeah. I don't think any of us expected him to do that. And also Chevrolet going into last year, they still, which I know we'll go over the Chevy picks a little bit later, they won all but 1 road course race in 2022, the final 6 of 2021. So 11 of the last 12 road course races was won by a Chevy. And then if you go into 2019 with Watkins Glen and Sonoma and the Roval then, and I wouldn't even back that far. Out of the last 17 road course races, 15 of them were won by a Chevy driver. But that's why Hendrick was such good odds. Is Hendrick going to lose their advantage with this next-gen car? I think last year showed they did, but it elevated other Chevrolet teams. hence Reddit and Chastain and the Trackhouse organization overall. So I think without knowing what these new changes are going to do, and if Hendrick's advantage is still gone, I still think Larson's overpriced when you get Kyle Busch moving into this stable of manufacturers. There's better value with other Chevy drivers.
Yeah. Let's start off first of all with Penske because of Logano, of course, had the big win, coming off the win. And I tell you what, that's like the main reason why I stood away from him this week, because I really like the odds of 25-1.
Yeah.
I mean, those are really good odds. When you take a look at it, we know Logano is a decent road course driver. He's not bad. He's good. He's got some wins. He was pretty decent last year. Matter of fact, in this race last year, now I don't remember why he finished 31st, but I do know that early in stage 3, he was in the lead until he basically got loose, and then I don't know what happened the rest of the race, but he's in the lead. He was set up nicely until he spun out. So that's the thing with Logano, is that I just felt that it's going to be just like we talked with Byron. If I'm going to lose any time during the season, it's in a situation where a driver wins a second consecutive race. Well, so be it, more than likely, because it's just a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is. It was intriguing seeing. It was weird seeing him and Hamlin sitting right there at 25-1. But as you said, it's just, is he truly going to go out and win this race? I mean, he led 14 laps in 2021, but it was in the rain.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could take over from that one. And he only scored a top 10 twice in 6 course races last year. Hence why I have him in these odds. And one of them was 6th at Indy, but if you remember right, he came out of nowhere. He was like outside the top 15, and he kind of passed people real low to
he doesn't lead a lot of laps on road courses. So.
And he qualified 6th in both races, so his odds if he qualifies up there are probably going to drop. So if you are out there and you like what we're saying about him and think, hey, you know what, you're right, he's led 16 laps there, take him now, because with him qualifying 6th both races last year, and Cindric was 3rd, qualified in 2021. I think Blaney, I'll have it here. Yeah, he was on the pole last year.
Yeah.
So Penske could qualify good. It's just they don't typically finish good on road courses.
By the way, why were there were less laps the first year compared to last year?
It rained.
Oh, the rain. The first
they
year.
had to shorten it because couldn't see at that point.
All right, so Blaney and Cindric are 15-1, and I did put money on both of them just to get my money back. Cindric led 11 laps in this race last year, and we know he's really good on the road courses. 5th at Sonoma, 7th at Road of America, and 2nd at Indy. So he's really good. Blaney's more of a top 10 fantasy road course guy. And sometimes he could finish in the top 5. He was 6th in this race last year, and he was really in the top 10 most of the race last year. So he was there, and you are getting 15-1. So I just figured anytime I can get that type of situation, because Blaney, I think, is actually even a better road course driver than Logano overall.
Yeah.
And so I just figure, and again, Logano won last week. So that's why I figured, all right, I'll put a little bit of money on Blaney just in case he wins. I'm getting my money back. And the same thing with Cindric.
Yeah, and Blaney, again, he had 2 top 10s too in last year on road courses, but both of them were 6th place finishes. He's a great fantasy play. 15-1 again, as I said, he was on the pole last year. So he was qualified 9th in 2021. So, or maybe 2021 they might have started based on points. I don't know if they were qualifying at that point yet, but last year he was on the pole, so that could always drop. However,
which race did he win?
Blaney?
Yeah, road course.
The Roval, Charlotte Roval.
Okay.
Yep. And I have an article up right now about the top road course racers in NASCAR. Even in the past and today, there's a chart and it shows all the active drivers and all the road courses and where they've won at. So it's up right now on the site. So if you guys want to take a look at it.
We'll put a link then on the description area as we normally do for reports like that, so you can check it out. All right. So, and then Burton did get a top 5 at Indianapolis, but that's about it. It's so far been a disappointing start once again for Burton. He's not going to survive past this season, correct? If he doesn't improve.
I think he's got to do something because they're just out to lunch, and he's not starting good. He's not finishing good. I mean, his starts this year were 19th, 24th, 35th, 27th, 33rd. And then you look at his finishes, 26th, 15th, 26th, 35th, 34th.
What's the difference between talent? When you looked at Burton in the Xfinity Series and you saw him race compared to Cindric, compared to guys like that, did you think that he was on par, or did you think he was a notch below?
I thought he was on par, and I still think he's got talent. I don't know. It's odd because this is a satellite team of Penske.
Yeah.
So is this a Suedo fourth Penske car, or are there some things that the Wood brothers, who are a smaller organization, developing on that there's a difference? That's what I really want to find out is how much is the car similar or dissimilar to the three Penskes? If it's very similar, then that doesn't bode well for him at all.
Yeah.
Because the Penske guys we've seen consistently up front more times than not, and he's nowhere to be found. And that Indy finish was because, remember, everybody was taking themselves out in the race, and he just happened to be there in the end. So even at 200-1, I just don't think he's got a shot.
And RFK, Keselowski, it's hard to tell what to think, but overall he's never really been that great of a road course driver anyway. No. But Buescher, who's 30-1, that's different. Now, I was trying – look – in all honesty, looking at this race, going over everything, there are a lot of options. There really are.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, again, if anybody wants to put a couple of bucks on Logano at 25-1, Buescher's the same way. I mean, you were the only one to put money on Buescher. I just couldn't find a way to put money on him, but I wanted to because you're getting 30-1. The only reason that I decided, my only excuse was that he didn't finish well here last year, but that's it because we know he's pretty good in these road course races.
He is, and I looked at last year. I thought the same thing. I said, well, that was the first race. What do you do the other road course races? Because it's about learning. They haven't done the left and right turns and the sequential shifter and all that. I get that. Second in Sonoma, sixth in Road America, 10th at Indy, 9th at Watkins Glen, 6th on the Roval.
Yeah.
All top 10.
Yeah.
And you look at what Keselowski finished last week, and you just feel like this organization, you just feel this momentum building with them. And with 30-1, same odds. Mind you, him and Keselowski, the odds makers are finally putting respect towards Buescher now, because it used to be Keselowski was up here and Buescher's odds were like 60-1.
Yeah.
They're both 30-1. I don't know if that's a byproduct of Buescher and because being good here and Keselowski not or what, but he's a great value where Keselowski, 2021 season, he was 5th on the Daytona Roval, which is completely different. And then you go to his other road course finishes, 19th, 15th, 13th, 35th, 24th, and 20th. Last year, 14th, 10th, 33rd, 20th, 19th, 14th. Yeah. He's just not it didn't merit him for 30-1. But Buescher, to me, is one of the top sleeper plays at 30-1 and top 10 finish every week. Every weekend on road courses. He was there. So we've seen these seasons crazy before, and now that strategy plays are open, you never know that what could happen. So that's why I went with a couple long shots. Just you get a fluke caution in the end, and these guys already pitted, and they're now flipped the field. He's got the speed, so we'll see what he can do. He qualified 22nd and 28th in his two COTA starts. So
who's that? We'll Buescher?
Buescher.
Really? So he had those are pretty bad qualifying starting positions then. So if he qualifies well, watch out.
Yeah, exactly. So
all right.
Something to watch.
And look, my first strategy when I was going over the picks, I started to notice that I was doing a lot of almost what CJ normally does. And I was like, but that's not me. I'm not going to be content just breaking even. Going like 9 picks and whoever wins, I'm breaking even. So that's the reason why I dropped Bowman. I was thinking of Logano. I dropped Buescher. I dropped Harvick. So I dropped, and I was thinking of Larson. So there were guys that I was trying to get in there, and I just said, nah, I'm going to double it up with 5 or 6 drivers, and I'd eliminated guys like Buescher. But I completely think that if you're out there, because I'm gonna put money on him, so I think you should put money on him too.
You should, and the only reason why I went even longer too, just a little less money made this week if when is these last 2 weeks with the winners that none of us saw coming. Like, I don't want to lose another 100.
Yeah.
Can I at least get a little bit of momentum and a little bit of a profit to start?
Yeah, you went that strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to start hitting some singles here. I want to get on base, and then I'll start swinging for home runs. But I just want to get on base, so that's why.
Kyle Larson will lead like 40 laps and win the race.
Then
and then
he was one of the top ones I went away from.
But then again, all of us haven't been winning because CJ. So that would mean, let's see, who would it be? Logano would win.
Yeah.
So Logano would be the one that would win. We'd all lose again.
We don't capitalize. Yep.
Yeah. So
and I'm kicking myself for him at 20. Well, usually when he is, my strategy is to pick him. Remember Bristol Dirt 2 years ago?
I was actually surprised when I was going over the results. I was like, nobody picked him. I know I didn't, but I was like, no, I thought one of you guys picked him. I was like, we all didn't pick him.
Well, he was on my fade list before the list came out, and I'm like, well, he's on my fade list for a reason. But then my brain went, it doesn't go with my strategy. Usually, is if he's these odds, I take him. All because that Bristol Dirt race when he was 33-1 and he had no dirt experience, and I just threw $10 his way and he won. Like, you got to go with him in these odds. You never know what you're going to get out of him. And 25-1 just kind of seems like he's back there again.
Yeah, but he did it again when he finished third here, the first race.
Yeah,
he was doing exactly that. He didn't win, but he came close to winning. So that's why he is a really good play in those types of situations where nobody's really been there before.
Yep.
And because of that, his odds are a little bit better. But unfortunately, I don't think we have one of those races this year, do we? Nothing new this year.
No, the Chicago Street Race.
Oh, okay. So we'll take Logano then.
Yeah, got to take. He's the inaugural race king.
He'll be on our list. Yes.
Yeah, got to take him.
Stuart Haas, and let's see, you and I both took Briscoe, and like I said, I almost took Harvick. And the only reason I almost took Harvick is I just feel like he's sniffing around even last week, being in first place in a position where it looked like, well, wait a second, I thought this wasn't a good situation for him. I thought that historically, same thing. You know, he's okay. He had a couple of top fives last year. He's runner-up at the Roval.
Yeah.
11th here in this race. 30-1. Well, we know he's done a lot of stuff this year that we didn't expect him to do. So, yeah, all right, I'll maybe this is the week with 30-1. Maybe he will find a way to win a race because one of these drivers could end up like Bowman last year. That could be Blaney. That could be Harvick. One of those, like, we're pretty good at this, but we're not supposed to win. But somehow we find our way up there and the C's part, and we have a chance to win it. But anyway, I just couldn't do it. But Briscoe, 25-1, because he was sixth the first year. And even though he finished 30th, I don't know what happened. What happened last year? Because I know he was in good position, even in the third stage. What happened?
He was either spun or run off track on that final restart. He was up in the top five. He was battling for the win.
Okay.
So he would have had another top five.
So he was one of those guys that got
caught up. I think Kyle got him. I can't remember. Kyle Busch or somebody, wasn't on purpose, but I think they just hit a part of the track where two cars weren't going to make it through, and I think he was just the odd man out. Or he got spun into it or something, but he was up front. He's a pretty good road racer, so yeah. I went with him for that at 25-1. Plus, I just struggle with Stuart Haas because Harvick too. I mean, he had a pair of top fives on road courses last year.
Yeah,
he had no top fives in 7 road course races in 2021, but 2 last year. And as you said, this could be a race. One of those guys like, see, you don't respect me. Here I am. But if any of them was going to do it, that's why I went Briscoe's way. Just because Haas has just been terrible this year. That's why I also was scared to take Briscoe. Because we saw what he did last year, and he came into this year, and he looks nothing like he did last year. It just seems, even when they find the front, things go wrong. Like Almirola, they had 2 drivers lead last in the final stage, and both wrecked while leading at Atlanta. So it just seems like they got to reverse the fortune somehow. And I don't know if it's reversed. It's all of a sudden you just get a win, but they need to do something.
Well, you've been piling up the futures dollars on Briscoe when he was at 40-1.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's 60-1. I didn't even look at your futures this week. Did you add up any money on him this week?
I did it because he went that far. I was like, I'm not going to waste another $100.
Yeah, you don't have to do it now.
Yeah,
you got time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I'll focus elsewhere.
Unless he wins.
Yeah, now if he wins, he's going to go way down.
Yeah. But you have enough money on him.
I do. I was like, I could, with this week, with him being that far, I don't think I did. I don't think I went much further than 40 to 1. I'm just going to keep hammering those guys, sprinkling in. As another $100 would be like, just in case you're going to hole over here. So he's at 60 to 1. I could rest assured.
You might not have to put money on him the rest of the year at this point.
Yeah.
And you can still make money.
Yeah. I mean, he looked, after he won in Phoenix, he went a long way last year without looking like anything. And then he makes the round of 8. And we've seen what
he did
at Phoenix last year. We saw how much track position played a game there.
It's just going to take a couple of races. Something lucky. Could be a road course that gets the momentum going. So
25 to 1, he was the safer one.
Yeah.
Almirola's terrible at road courses.
Yep.
He's been terrible this season. Priest has done absolutely nothing this year.
By the way, CJS Priest?
Yeah.
I'm surprised he hasn't dropped him yet.
I was too, because his finishes this year are 36th, 33rd, 23rd, 12th, and 28th. And then you got Almirola. I just had it. He hasn't had top 15 yet all season. And Briscoe, 4 of his finishes have been 20th or worse, so it's not like he's been much better.
No.
So it's hard to gauge with Priest if the car's on par with what it was with Custer. So it's like probably in the driver. And then you look at his teammates outside of Harvick, and it's like they're all back there together. So something's amiss, and that's where I struggle to think, well, they've been that far off. I'm not naive enough to think that all of a sudden Sunday they're going to win.
Yeah, not Priest and Almirola, no.
No, they need to really close the gap. So, yeah, that's what's good about these odds really past probably 30 to 1. I know I took Raikkonen just because, that'd be a fun story. You can eliminate most of those guys. There's a reason they're not strong on road courses or some this season. So I took Raikkonen just for the fun story if he would happen to win, and he's good on road courses, but that's why I eliminated most of the story.
Yeah, the only drivers that we picked that were over 30 to 1, you mentioned Raikkonen, and then CJ took Gibbs and Johnson. Those are his only 2 long shots. You put a couple of bucks each on Gibbs and Johnson, and that was it. All his other picks were the top 8 in odds. Strangely enough, he did not put money on Suarez, though.
That shocked me because I'm shocked he did go Gibbs and Johnson, because Johnson, he's won 83 Cup races. 82 of them were on ovals. He's got one, and he's been out of the
maybe he's thinking about the story that you're thinking about with Raikkonen.
Yeah. I just don't – and Legacy's been down. It seems like they've been down this year. That I don't see this being Johnson. I think this is more Johnson wants to race and have fun. I just don't actively see him battling for the win. And Gibbs, he's got one top 10 all year. And we talked about –
Is he good on road courses? And
he was, but he also gives equipment and Xfinity on road courses as far.
Yeah.
Toyota, it's just hard to know that Toyota – if Toyota looks like they did last year, he's going to be – there's no way he's going to be better. If Hamlin couldn't –
That's true. That's true.
No way a rookie's going to come in and do it. So that's why I didn't go either of those directions. He could have doubled down on those 2 and put money somewhere higher up.
On Suarez.
Yep.
The last of the Fords to talk about is McDowell. And McDowell, not surprised that you put money on him. So it's good one of us has money on him because he's a good road course driver. This is pretty much it's road courses and sometimes it's drafting, and those are the 2 races that you go with McDowell. He was top 15 in both races on this track, 3rd at Sonoma, 8th at Road America, 8th at Indy, 6th at Watkins Glen. If you're looking for one of those road course drivers that are considered long shots, McDowell is definitely on one at the top of the list.
Yeah, that's why him and Busch are my 2 long shots. Raikkonen was just a fun play. Just you never know. McDowell and Busch are kind of the more realistic sleepers. With, as you said, basically from Sonoma on. This race not counted just because they were all learning, but Sonoma on, those guys are top 10 on road course races. So you just got to be there. in order to move to capitalize, and I think those guys will be there. Are they going to win on pure pace? Probably not. But you never know strategy play. Yeah. Now that the strategy bank is open, we'll see what happens.
Hey, you know what? Without the stage stops, and maybe some other weird stuff is going to happen. So who knows? Joe Gibbs, let's go to the Toyotas. And again, you look here, and the only two that I put money on were Reddick and Bell. Was that the same for you?
Yes.
Okay, so we both only did Reddick and Bell. Hamlin, Truex used to be the road course dude, and how quickly that's changed.
It changed a lot.
He's 30-1, and he finished 7th last year, but that wasn't even like, it wasn't like he was doing anything. And then Wallace, interesting enough, this track was like his worst track because he actually had a couple of decent finishes, but nothing spectacular. He's not that great of a road course driver anyway. So, and even Hamlin, you would think Hamlin would be a little bit better, but he hasn't done he didn't do anything last year. So, again, that's Toyota's problem. But the one guy that did was Bell. And Reddick now, Reddick is really the mystery here because he was on in a Chevy, completely different. He had the win at Road America, the win at Indy, top 10s in the other 3 others, 5th here. So he's 9-1, and Bell at 15-1, 3rd last year. Again, it wasn't like a strong 3rd, but he won the Roval. And look at him; he's 2nd in points now. He's 6th or better in every race except California. So that's part of the reason that I went with Bell, is that I figured he's doing so well that. Why not? Why can't I think that he's going to continue that sort of momentum on a road course? And he's getting 15-1. It's not like he's 10-1.
No, and they're actually, for my article later in the week, the 5 things I'm watching in the race. This duo are 2 of them I'm watching because it's going to say a lot about Toyota. I feel like because they were so strong last year, and granted Reddick was with Chevy, but 3 of the final 4 road course races run last season, they won them, and Reddick was in the top 3. Remember, he was part of that. Him and Chastain and Allmendinger, their 3-way battle for the win last year. And he was run off course, but he still got a top 5. And Bell was the beneficiary of that, finished 3rd. They both were top 5 last year here, won 3 of the final 4 road course races. Bell, like you said, top 6 every race but 1. Reddick's got 2 straight top 5s. The momentum's there. This is his first race in a Toyota. So is there anything maybe he learned from Chevy he could bring over to maybe help? Or is it truly the car? Is the car the deficiency? So I think this is going to say a lot about Toyota's road course because these 2, or road course program, because these 2 proved last year to be some of the best road course racers in the game right now. And Reddick now wasn't part of that program. Now he is. So let's see if his stats go down and Toyota looks the same. Then you know. So these are 2 drivers I'm watching, and because of that, and Hamlin, just for whatever reason, and he called it, we're not going to be any good. He said that last year on road courses, and they weren't. And he kind of said it again, hey, I don't think we made much gains on the road course package.
No,
we need to win elsewhere. Yeah. And so we'll see. And but because of him saying that,
it's
you call a straight shot, and you're pretty right about things. So you say that, I'll avoid. But and then saying that, I still put money on.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, again, Bell and Reddick deserve. You can't not put money on those guys. Especially it's the first race. We don't know. It
really
could
don't.
be different.
Yep.
And if you don't put money on Bell and Reddick and it is different, you're going to feel like an idiot. So
yeah, especially for 9-1 and 15-1. They're just too good of odds.
Yeah, because Reddick is 4th. It's not like he's getting, Larson and Kyle and Chastain are getting more money than he is. So
yep.
All right.
Yep.
Let's go to Chevy. And so we've already talked a little bit about Larson. So we know how good of a road course driver he is. But look, he just – I don't even know what happened to him last year. He wasn't even involved last year in this race.
He just wasn't good. They just did not have a good package last year.
And again, that was a 3-1.
Yeah.
I'm sure anybody that put big money on Larson at 3-1 were very happy about that performance.
A little bummed. He wasn't a factor. Byron wasn't a factor. Remember Chase in practice and qualifying? He wasn't a factor. He kind of made his way back up.
2-1, Chase Elliott.
Yeah, and I'm looking on the list. I'm like, why is he not on here? Well, he's not racing this weekend.
Yeah.
But they just weren't a factor last year. I mean, Chase was just Bowman was the best driver.
That was it.
Last
year. Yeah. That's why I came close to putting money on Bowman, because it's like, come on. he's still without the penalties. He's up there, maybe still leading in points, and he was second in this race last year and 8th the year before. So
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it, but I tried to.
And they were Hendrick coming into last year. The further my Chevy point earlier, I said I'd come back to coming into the last few years, the last 11 total road course races coming in to last season for the final version of the car before the next gen. They won 9 of 11 road course races. They were the team to beat, and they went 1-2 in Coda in 2021, 1-2 in Sonoma, 1-2 in Watkins Glen.
Yeah, it was
and
boring.
They were just leaps and bounds better. And then last year, they were 1-6, just not even in the ballpark. So you just don't know what you're going to get out of them. Josh Berry isn't there this week. Jordan Taylor
so who's
is.
this Taylor guy?
He is a road course IMSA veteran. The guy's 24 wins, 25 wins in IMSA. Runs a 24-time IMSA winner. Got it right here. Chevrolet drives a Corvette in their program, so he's good. Is he going to win?
None of these guys ever win these races at NASCAR.
Just too hard, especially for him. He's never raced a Cup car before. He's tested that Garage 56 car. That's why they put him in it, because he was going to race at Le Mans. But as far as like the sequential shifter, the turn left and right turn, it's just a Cup car is a lot different than a sports car. Granted, they're closer now than they've ever been. But of all these drivers we just mentioned, some favorites, do we really think his first NASCAR start, he's going to come in and beat them?
Yeah, it's like 40-1 is really close to Harvick at 30-1. So why would I take Taylor and not take Harvick?
Exactly.
So come on.
And then with obviously Chase being out, and then you got Byron. He's not had a top 5 in any of the road course races last year. His best finish was 9th.
Yeah, Byron's actually been at least top 15. That's okay. I'll take that position and move on. That's it.
Yep. And I think that's what he'll do. I mean, he was 11th and 12th here, respectively, to 2 starts. He's not a guy that's going to finish outside the top 20, but he's not a guy that's probably going to finish the top 5. No. I think, especially with the points penalty, let me just get out of here to the top 15, top 20, and just let's move on to the next race. So if you already take the 9 car out, you take the 24 car out. We talked about Larson. That just relieves Bowman. And it's like you said, it's not like he was bad.
No.
And his other 4 road course races kind of left a lot to be desired last year. But again, he was runner-up. And he's running the truck race again this year to try to get more seat time in there. So I thought for 20-1 and coming into last weekend, he was the only guy that had a top 10 finish in every race.
Yep.
Just seems for 20-1 doesn't hurt.
No. Again, I would have had it if I didn't decide to go the different strategy. And then AJ with Colleague, I mean, we know this is going to be this is AJ's one of 6 really good chances of getting to the playoffs. And look, he didn't really, if you look at last year's race, even though he got into Bowman and that allowed Chastain to win, Chastain looked like he was the better driver there towards the end anyway. Yeah. It was kind of surprising that he gave up the lead, though. It was like he looked like he was going to. Matter of fact, the announcers, if you check out the tape, it's funny because they're talking about it like he's all he has to do now is just do this and do that. Like he's in the clear. Like he's and all of a sudden, like about 10 seconds later, he's got AJ on his butt, and then he's getting passed. And when he got passed, it's very rare you get passed and you're able to come back. And that's why it was a really gutsy. It was the beginning, basically, of Ross Chastain showing everybody what kind of driver he was going to be, and that type of guy that would come up with that crazy way to get to the playoffs. This was like the beginning of what we were supposed to see from him last season.
It was, and with Allmendinger's case, I was a little shocked he was 12-1 and not kind of in the single digits.
Yeah, those are good odds.
He's won 17 Cup or Xfinity races combined. 12 of them are on road courses.
There you go.
He won the Xfinity race here last year. So he's good at this place. He was second in the Xfinity race the year before. So we know what he can do.
Yep.
He was in the top 3 in that final lap last year. Even the top 10 late in Sonoma. I think he got punted. And then 9th in Road America, 7th at Indy, runner-up at Watkins Glen. I think he's won like 4 straight years in the Xfinity Series at the Roval. So the dude can race on road courses, and he was there last year for the win, and you get him for 12-1. So I thought he was probably one of the better bargains.
That's why
over
I
everything
took
on
him over Larson and Kyle Busch. I'd rather get I get double the odds with AJ
Yeah.
over Larson.
And we talked about Bell, who's 15-1. You just don't know what you're getting out of Toyota. Allmendinger's with the same team, the same car, nothing changes, and you're 12-1. So I thought that's the safe play this week is in that favor. So it just baffled my mind that he had the same odds as Byron. I just
yeah.
Like I said, 17
Yeah, that doesn't make
road
any
course wins.
sense.
It just
Byron should not be 12-1. That's
no. They're kind of just telling you don't bet on Byron. We're going to throw him at 12-1. We know you're going to go elsewhere. So it just didn't make sense.
And forget Haley. He's not going to do nothing here. He's 100-1. Moving on to RCR, and you have Kyle and Dylan. Dylan actually had a couple of top 15s last year, the last 2 times he's been here. So that's interesting at 80-1. That's a little surprising. But Kyle, it's like what there's to me, it's like, all right, Kyle's back. He's got the win. And we know he's been a good road course driver in the past. And now he's in Reddick's car. And look what Reddick did last year. So we're making Kyle the second betting choice. I saw that, and I was like, I'm not taking him. I mean, there's no way Kyle Busch, in my mind, should be the second betting choice. I think he should be right there, 10-1, with some of these drivers we just talked about. I think Reddick should be not Reddick. Let's just even say I'm glad Chastain is even, but I think Chastain should have better odds. I think AJ should probably have even odds. I think Bell should have even odds. So I think there's at least 2 or 3 drivers that should have even or better odds than Kyle. And that's kind of why I went not that I don't think he could win. He's definitely in there for the running, but not as the second choice.
Yeah, it was hard as the second choice, but I look what Reddick did in the car. Kyle was already a good road course racer, and Toyota just fell off the cliff last year.
Yep.
Plus, you're putting him in what Reddick did. The other factor, too, I like him and Dylan, and I think there's one more driver. But in the off season, to kind of get to know each other, work with each other, RCR put, I think it was a Trans Am car. It was a car. It was a race down in Coda, this track, and I think it was the January range. And they went down and raced, and they won. And it was kind of like an endurance race where they switched drivers. That kind of the Rolex 24. It wasn't that long of a race, but the key was it was an RCR car. It was at Coda, and they won, and they worked well together. So I thought, you factor all that in together, 8-1. I mean, it's a little steep, but he's already won this year, so they can maybe take chances, swing for fences more. So I put all that with him. Dylan it was hard to pick him because it seems to win big events on super speedways or something like that.
That's.
But his final 2 road course finishes last year were 7th and 10th. And as I said, he won like an all-star race down there back in January, and he was 12th and 10th, his 2 races down there. So it's real intriguing at 80-1.
So you're saying he's the best 80-1 or higher pick then?
Oh yeah, I'd actually say if anybody from 40-1 down, he's the best. He's the best one. He's the longer shot play.
Maybe.
Is he going to win though? I mean. He's only really won at Daytona and the one race. Again, Texas. We're in Texas, but I just don't see it. But, hey, 80-1 is worth a couple bucks his way.
You see, the thing, my strategy with this race being different from yours was only because the main reason was because it's the first race of the season. And what we're seeing is like what we saw last year. The odds makers are going, Elliott's 2-1, Larson's 3-1. Why? Because of past history. This is the first road course race of 2022. They're doing the same thing with Kyle here. They're putting him at a certain level, odds-wise, because of what they've seen in the past. We don't know. Maybe Kyle will be the dominant car on Sunday. It's very possible. He's that capable. But we're guessing, and we're guessing with the odds being as low as they are. So that's why I kind of went more with the strategy of, hey, you know what? If I lose, it's only one race, one road course race. Now I'll get a lot more information that'll carry me through to the other 5 road course races. That even if I lose the first one, I'd rather lose the first one just kind of going with a little bit more of the proven and better odds drivers, which is what I did. That's all.
It is. You shouldn't bet on a guess, and that is kind of what you're doing. If you go the RCR route, is you're guessing. You think what they could do, but at the end of the day,
but at least you did it where you decided to do it for your entire platform of bets this week. That you're just going with the strategy of, even if I win, I'm only going to make a couple of bucks, but I'm trying not to lose, like you said.
Yeah.
I just got to get a win.
I'm playing not to lose, but that's why. Or else, you would be guessing with these guys. So
we are at different strategies. I'm taking more of a chance. And if I get a win, it's a big bonus, because hopefully hey, man, not only do I win, but I a couple $100. And whereas if you win, it's going to be, you know what, I didn't go with Kyle, or I didn't go with Bowman, or but I'm $100 behind you now because of it. So all right, and then Chastain and Suarez, these are can't miss guys. So Chastain 8-1, Suarez 15-1. We know how good they're doing this year, and this is a no-brainer. The fact that they're doing so good. We talked about Chastain and how well he was, his gutsy win in this race last year. So he wins that race, leading 31 of 69 laps, fourth the year before, fourth at Road America last year too. Suarez was the stage 1 winner last year, went with that strategy because of that kind of put him behind, because I'm not sure what happened to his car early in stage 2. Something happened.
He got spun on the restart.
Did. Okay. So he was done after that. But he won Sonoma, 5th at Road America, 5th at Watkins Glen, and you're getting double the odds than Chastain. So there, you can do a lot worse than going, I'm just taking those two guys.
Yeah, you could take Trackhouse or the field. I mean, that's how good they won. We talked about Bell and Reddick winning 3 of the final 4 road course races. These guys won the first 2. They came out of gates winning. And as you said, that strategy play where it hurt Suarez last year, who qualified on the front row. He was second. That's why he led every lap of that first stage. But the strategy, because of the caution, flipped him to the back. And then he got spun while back there. So this year,
doesn't have to worry about
you don't have that. So, and you get him for 15-1. Trackhouse started off strong. They kind of regressed a little bit the last few weeks. Can they get it back? This is a big weekend for them to get it back. So I've got my eye on them. And like I said, 8-1 and 15-1, no brainer for both of those this week.
Stenhouse, forget him.
Not even worth the conversation on him this week.
Legacy, you do have Jones. Now, Jones has been okay. He's 50-1. He might be the other guy that if you were thinking Dillon, then maybe Jones would be the other guy.
Yeah, I mean, 9th last year, 10th at Watkins Glen, 11th on the Roval, coming off of a top 10 last week. They're finally starting to figure it out. So he wouldn't be a bad one at 50-1. He's better than Johnson on this line. I'm shocked. It's almost insulting to him they have him with Jimmy Johnson at 50-1. They're similar odds. So I don't get that. But for 50-1, if you're going to go more longer shots, this is a guy that could happen for it.
And one other guy, and I wasn't going to bring him up, but I figured, I think we have to bring him up. I'm not going to say we're going to pick him, but he deserves us to talk about him based on the season he's having, and that's the other 500-1 shot next to Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and that's Corey LaJoie. So we said, hey, you know what? Based on how good of a start he got off to, he has to have a good finish at Atlanta. That's a must, and that's exactly what he did. Top 5. Yep. He's 14th in points now. Look, he would have been a little bit further back with all the penalties, but still, he's 14th in points now. He's not a good road course driver, but I don't know. I mean, do you think Corey LaJoie can keep this up all season?
I do. Now, there's going to be tracks he's going to do better at than others. Like this one, 20th and 36th. There's 2 finishes.
No chance.
But top 20,
that's what he needs.
Pretty good if he can do that. He's in a position right now that, hey, we're 5 weeks into the season. He's still on the positive side of the point. So he almost won Atlanta again, and we know what he can do. So it seems like he's even amplified it a little more elsewhere. It's not just Atlanta. He's got top 20s, I believe, everywhere but once, I think, this season. I got it right here. Yeah,
Phoenix was the
everywhere
only one.
but Phoenix.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely better. One driver we did forget with Trackhouse is Kimi Räikkönen.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Your
why
pick. That's right.
Yeah, 50-1. Again, the Trackhouse angle. Fun story. His last Formula One win came here.
Oh,
Was at this place. So the last time he's won was there. And even the quotes that they were saying this week about why they chose this race for him. He's raced 20 times there in F1. He led 39 laps that day that he won. But even him saying, I had a fantastic time in NASCAR. There was a lot to learn in a very short amount of time. This is regarding when he raced at Watkins Glen last year. But everyone's very helpful. The competition was a big challenge. This time, I get to race on a track I'm familiar with, so there won't be a steep of a learning curve. I want to have fun, but also know I can do well there. In Watkins Glen, he raced his way up to the top 10. And then he got spun in that bus stop, I think, in the second stage. So he was already there. And now he's coming to a track. He's never seen Watkins Glen before. He knows every angle of this track. And he did it in an F1 car, which would be a lot faster than a Cup car. So you got to think he's already grasped his car before. We saw what Trackhouse did on road courses last year.
That's
and
the thing. Yeah, that's the bonus.
50-1.
Yes.
Yeah. So, granted, is he going to win? It could be a challenge, but you never know.
No, it's not. I actually think it'd be stranger to see. It'll be a lot stranger, I should say, to see some of these regular Cup drivers win, like Stenhouse or guys like that. That would be strange. But I don't think it would be like way out of whack to see Raikkonen win based on. I think that's the key, is that he's going in there with this Chastain Suarez Trackhouse team.
Yep.
That's the key. Yeah.
They've proven they could be fast there. And you're getting a guy that is fast. And it'd be one thing if he was at Watkins Glen last year and he was just terrible.
Sure.
But he was really good.
Yeah, sure.
And now he's been. So yeah, I
mean,
think.
Why are you getting 50-1 with Raikkonen, and you're getting 40-1 with Taylor?
Yeah, doesn't make sense to me.
Based on their history, and again, I know Chevy. That's what I'm thinking. That's what they're thinking is because Chevy dominated both of these races, the first and the second. So, and Chevy is Chevy, but still, it sure sounds to me like. Again, Trackhouse may not be Hendrick, but at this particular racetrack, and his history compared to Taylor's history, and I know I'm not saying Taylor doesn't have a good history, but it sounds to me like Raikkonen is probably a little bit more.
He's safer play,
and
Trackhouse outwon. They beat Hendrick twice last year, 2-1. Hendrick only won one road course; they won two, and they're probably taking Taylor. Chevrolet driver, and then he's got Chase Elliott's car, but Chase Elliott wasn't Chase Elliott.
That's true too. Yes.
Raikkonen proved very well in that car last year in the one opportunity, and now he's back with a team that won twice. So I just feel like it's a better play for him. They should be even together odds.
At the worst.
Yeah.
All right. So who's your top three?
I'm gonna say Chastain, Allmendinger, and I'm gonna go Reddick. I still think he's
over Kyle.
Yeah. Yep.
Really? You sure about that?
I just feel like because of what Bell was pretty strong.
Okay.
And he wasn't great, always known as a road course racer. Where Reddick he was in front last year. So
okay. Chastain, Reddick, and AJ.
Yep, with a long shot. I'm just going to go Buescher as a safe long shot from what I talked about earlier.
Yeah, that's a good one. Next week, well, we're kind of staying with this short track deal for a while. Richmond, then we get the disaster, which is Bristol Dirt, and then Martinsville before we go back to Talladega. So not a lot of big tracks, but that's okay. California, the West Coast crap races are behind us. Atlanta was a nice start, and we get the really good road course followed by Richmond, and nothing's changing with that Bristol race.
Nope,
because they changed. The first race was day or night.
Day,
and they changed it to night,
which is better for dirt. So
we're doing night again.
We'll do night again, Eastern night. So
Sunday night.
Sunday night. Yep.
Okay. Well.
But
Yeah, that's not a weird. That's to me, that's like one of those PGA Tour stops that I don't like. That I'm like, do I really have to talk about this?
Yeah.
I don't. I just please. They got to get. I mean, and the thing is there was a lot of drivers that weren't very happy, and they're
No,
not
they even
apparently. They
have
don't give a crap apparently, and I'm hoping that maybe one more just emphatic. This stinks. I'm sick of this. We'll just all right. We'll because as we agreed, if you're gonna do this, you do it somewhere else.
yeah,
Just do
on
it
a real
somewhere
dirt
else.
track.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do it somewhere.
that's
Do it at a
Vegas for
track
dirt.
that already stinks.
Yeah.
Not Bristol.